So I'm going to demonstrate how you can use the template to help you to design some ideas for the resin poured lamp. So first of all, I have my underlay sheet here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a piece of marker paper over the top so I can see my underlay through it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is look at just going over my framework lines, the lines that have been put in there to help you. Now at the moment you may not know or realise what those lines are for. They are there just to help guide you in the structure of the design to come up with some design ideas. You don't have to be perfect with your copying of those lines. It is merely there to help you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this framework to help me to sketch. So I have a centre line and I have the outside of this box, which is kind of like a guideline. I wouldn't design any bigger than this. So what I'm going to start at doing is sketching perhaps the base part of a design that will be resin poured. So I'm just going to look at my shape and think, right, I want perhaps a curved top, so I'm going to do a curved line. I'm going to press nice and lightly just to get a curved shape. I'm then going to decide that I want a cut line here, so I'm just going to very lightly do a cut. I want a curved line here, so let's just add a very light cut line. I'm going to keep the bottom flat, so we'd use the line that we've already got here. I'm going to suggest that perhaps I've got this kind of shape cut out, which could be resin, or this bit could be resin and this could be timber, or the other way around. And just to begin with, I'm happy with just that basic shape. Then what I want to do is I want a neck for my design. In other words, I want a part that joins this base bit to go up. So I'm going to initially just do a very light line, just a centre line for my neck. Then I'm going to come up with a design. So I'm going to gently do a curve. I'm going to curve it outwards and we'll curve it back into the body. Okay, so I've got this double curve shape. I'm then going to do the other side of that, and it doesn't have to be parallel, it can be any shape that you want. So I'm going to curve it there, I'm going to curve it outwards here, and I'll curve it back in just at the end, something like that. And then, because we can, I'm going to put just like a few interesting maybe holes in this, so I'm just going to do very lightly a couple of elliptical shapes, elliptical or oval shapes. Then I'm going to look at doing the head of my design work. So in terms of the head, this section at the top here is for the head. So I'm going to just put in the bottom of the head here, like that, going across. But then for the top of it, I want mine just to be slightly domed or rounded. So I'm going to use this guideline, but I'm just going to come out of it ever so slightly. I'm going to curve it up and down and round. Okay, so it goes up here, down to the back. It's going to come straight across over here. And at the front, I'm just going to round it and round it down. Then what I want to do is just add in my lantern. So my lantern, I've got these two guidelines here. The first thing I want to do is that the top of the lantern is actually a small space. So I'm going to do a line going across, and I'm going to do a line for the bottom of my lantern. I'm going to just add slightly a little bit here on the side, because here is my centre line for my lantern, and I want it roughly to about even. So I've got my lantern or lamp shade just here, and then on that I could do some design work, perhaps to match the neck. So maybe I'm going to do a little bit here that's going to stick out, and we'll curve it and we'll curve it round. Okay, and then it's going to go back up into the lantern, and then we add this straight line down, okay, like so. I'm going to do something similar on the other side, but not the same. Okay, so perhaps this time I'll go out at the beginning, then I will come in, then I'll just go out again a little bit at the bottom, and also come in like that, and then let's join this down here. Now, all I'm doing at this stage is I'm trying to plot my idea. In other words, I'm trying to just give an idea of what my design idea could be. Okay, so we've got our shape here, and then we're just going to join it back up there. So I've done this nice and lightly. The next stage is what we want to do is refine our shape. So when I say refine, what I mean by that is we're just going to make some decisions about, should this be like a sharp edge where we've got two joining here, or could it be rounded? Could this be rounded? Is this shape correct? How about the back? So in other words, we are going to refine our shape. So if I show you that, I'm going to round this front edge here just by putting a small round with a sharp part of the mechanical pencil. I'm actually going to refine my shape because I'm going to curve that front shape a little bit. Now I'm not pressing hard at all. What I'm doing is squeezing with my fingers on the end part of this pencil. That allows me to do a darker but sharp line. I'm quite happy with that shape, but I'm not going to press hard or squeeze too hard. I'm just going to go over it a second time. The top of my shape I want to refine. I want to make sure it's clear, so I'm using a sharp part of the pencil. So I keep turning the pencil round in my fingers to make sure that I have a sharp edge with the mechanical pencil. I don't just press hard or squeeze hard. I try to have parts of my line which go dark, parts which go light, and perhaps they go dark again. This makes our sketch look a little bit more dynamic and a bit more interesting. Dynamic means like it has a bit more movement. Okay. Now, this is the base of my design, but the base of my lamp will sit on a surface. So what I'm actually going to do is just continue that line on both sides as though my lamp sits on a table surface. Now I'm just going to refine the back of my shape, so I'm just going to curve it round here. I'm quite happy with that design and this bit here, so I'm just going to join those two with a nice kind of curved shape, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit harder where the bottom of my work is. Now I'm going to refine the neck. So I'm going to look at my lines and think, am I happy? So now let's just refine the shape, make any changes that you feel that you might want to do. Okay, so we've got our shaping here. And actually I was pretty happy with the neck shape, so I'm not really going to make too much of a change. I'm just going to change the bottom slightly there by curving it out. I was pretty happy also with my elliptical cutout shape, so I'm just going to go round these. And if your shape is not perfect, if it's not a perfect ellipse, don't worry. Okay? We're trying to avoid shaky lines like the one I've just done, so perhaps then we might just go over again. Okay? And what we're trying to do is use the sharp part of our mechanical pencil. Now what I want to do is define and refine this top part. So again, I'm just going to go over, showing where those two join. I'm going to continue the head all the way across there so it stands out on my page, so it's clear about my design. And then going to go over the top, going to darken it here. So if a curve becomes concave, like a cave, okay, so a cave goes in, the cave is dark. So we normally, on a concave curve, would try and darken the shape a little bit. And on a convex, perhaps more like your eyeball, which is round on the outside, we try and do a lighter line. That's typically the rule, although we can break those rules at different times. You notice here on this line, what I did was I've just gone slightly darker there, then it gets a little bit lighter, slightly darker on that part. Okay, on here I would actually just go again a little bit darker and sharper on that part, just so it stands out. And then lastly, I just need to make the lantern, those lines a bit more refined. So just changing the shape. You know, am I happy? here's my design. I'm just going to go over this one, just so anybody that is looking at my sketch can hopefully get an idea of what I'm trying to show and share with my design. They don't necessarily at this stage have to fully understand my design. They don't know that this is a lamp, for example, and that comes where we develop it a little bit further with annotation to describe and explain our design, and also the use and addition of colour, okay, and materials. So here we go, I've just put my work in, something like that. Now, at this stage, to help communicate it even more, we could add a very little tiny bit of shading. So shading we can do with the blue pencil. So if you just watch, I'm going to very gently, I'm going to hold it on the grip part of the pencil, and I'm going to go at about 45 degrees to my sheet, and I'm just going to gently add a bit of tone, just to make sure that this is separate and it doesn't get lost in my shading. I've just darkened that tiny bit. I found the sharp edge of my mechanical pencil, and I'm very, very softly and gently just adding a little bit of tone. I could just add a little bit around here, for example, but I don't want to press hard. All I'm trying to do is make my sketch clearer so somebody looking at it could have an idea. On this side, I'm going to go 45 degrees the opposite way and just ever so gently just add a bit of shading and a bit of tone. And what I'm going to do now on this bit is look for the sharp part of my mechanical pencil and just darken that line up a little bit. And I could do that the same anywhere where two materials join, like this bit, the neck and the base. I could also just go across there, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow, a little bit of shading, okay, and just make it a little bit bigger here, just to try and show what my idea is to improve the communication, okay, remembering that we are going to add colour and materials to our sketch work. We're just trying to help somebody looking at the design work going, okay, I kind of understand what is going on. So let me do something like that, which should just generally help people understand my sketch work. Okay. So that's what I've got so far, gentle little bit of shading. Now, if this is a hole, and these are supposed to be holes, then what I could do is a little tiny bit of shading just around the edge of the hole, just perhaps on one side, like this, very subtle, very gentle, just to try and show people that actually where there is white on the inside, that would then be a hole. Now, if we follow and use that rule, that means that at the moment this looks like a hole, and that's not what I want. I wanted this to be resin. So I'm deliberately then going to add a little bit of tone in here, and I'm going to do it down at the bottom and on here, just so I've got a little bit of shading, so it's not a hole going all the way through. Okay, so we're just looking at our work. Again, I could do that with this ellipse at the top, so I'm just going to continue my shading a little bit like that, so you can see. Okay, so hopefully by doing that, it shows my intention. Now, the two things that I now need to add just to finalise my design is a cable or a wire, which would be our power cable to make this work. So typically we'll do this coming out of the base, so I'm just going to add two lines pretty much parallel like that, and I'm going to just darken ever so slightly with my colour pencil, my mechanical pencil, just like a cable line. And the other one is a switch, and the switch ideally is going to go somewhere in the head, usually at the back or the front. That's up to you. So I'm just going to add a tiny couple of vertical lines like so, and then I'm just going to draw a line straight across like that, just adding in the switch. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's a difference between the head and the switch. So you notice I've just darkened that line a little bit, and now I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of shadow just to darken the switch so it looks different than the head. Okay, and there is a design idea. Then I could go on to the next idea. But one little thing, there is on the template sheet, this box underneath. And remember, the template sheet could be moved anywhere you want. The idea with this box is that it's going to try and get my design and turn it through 90 degrees. So in other words, the key bit really is thinking about this shape. What's this shape going to look like from looking at the front? Is it curved? Is it cut in? We don't know until we perhaps just try and do a sketch to show that. So if we look at our sketch going through, so this is where the top of my work would be, and this is the bottom of the head where the lantern would be. So I'm going to curve my shape here and here. I'm going to use my center line all the way down. I'm going to add in my lantern or lampshade, which is here. Now looking at this shape to try and get that and share that shape as though it's gone through the 90 degrees. I'm just going to also make that stick out on both sides, and we'll add in our shape like this, and we'll do the same on this side. Okay, perhaps something like that. Then behind this we would have our neck, and our neck we could do here and here, like that. And then we've got this shape, the shape of our base. So actually what I want on mine is a slightly curved shape from the side. So I'm going to curve it like so. Okay, and then I'm going to make it come in on both sides, like so. And then here we go from the front. And we probably just have a little extra curve in here. It could be that this is our resin part here, and maybe we actually see part of the resin coming in, so it would probably look kind of like this. So let me just plot that in so you could see. Okay, and then what I need to do is refine my sketch, refine those lines. So looking where the sharp part of my pencil is, okay, and just going to try and in different places refine that line, so when a viewer, a person, looks at the work, hopefully they can have a bit of an idea of what I'm trying to communicate with a design idea. Okay, so we'll just add that in. Then I'm going to have my the neck here. The neck generally will be flat-sided. Then the lantern, which is at the front, so we'll put our lantern in here. Okay, I'll just quickly add in my lantern shape. Let's say something like this. Okay, so here is my lantern design, and normally we have one also down the centre. So here we go, one down the middle, also like that. Then we've got a connection to the head, and then here is the head design. If you remember on this design here, it was raised up, so of course I want it to be slightly raised up, and perhaps I just add in a little bit where the switch was, as though we could see it. Now, this is just a sketch, it's just an idea. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, because we will develop it and correct much later on, but this is just trying to communicate a design idea perhaps from a different angle. And again, of course, similar things that we could do as we did last time is we could add a little bit of shading just to separate different parts of the design, so we could see perhaps which parts of resin, which parts of wood, just to make the design perhaps stand out a little bit more. Okay, and that's how we start to present design ideas.